It's electric focus, and now it's part 2 of a 1,000-mile round trip where I've been down to Goodwood Festival of Speed, had a great time there, and now I'm back off up to Scotland, and again a good test of charging infrastructure and also the I-PACE and seeing how efficiency goes on this long trip. So that's it. I'm going to get on the way. It's early in the morning. I'll speak to you soon. Right, I'm at my first stop. Interesting start to the day. I left with 89 miles and I knew I was going to have to charge early on. So I'm at a Shell recharge station. There's a great station, 8 chargers. I plugged in and it started initialising, but it just seemed to be stuck in initialising. It wouldn't stop initialising. So I stopped the charge. Then I couldn't get the cable out, and I called the charging company and they said they couldn't connect to it, and they tried rebooting it and couldn't do anything. So then I called Jaguar Assist and asked them, because I couldn't release the cable. Normally you can just press the button on your key and release the cable. So I called them and they said that no, it seems to be a problem, and they said it could be the charger. And I went a bit back and forth really. They were arranging somebody to come out, Jaguar as well, which they said would take 2.5 hours. So that was a good good thing to hear, wasn't it, when I got this long journey. But I just suddenly remembered, hang on a minute, I'm sure there's emergency release. Right? I've never had to use it. So I just looked on the Jaguar app, and yeah, there's emergency release. It just came into my head, I should have known. You open a bonnet and there's like a release ring, you pull that. And I pulled it a couple of times and it didn't seem to be doing anything, and then I just had to pull it in a different direction. You pull it up and it released, I'm glad to say. So I've wasted a bit of time on this first charge. Well, I'm charging now and it was getting pretty good speeds. So I'm happy with that, because I was starting to think this is not going to be a good story to be telling about charging with this start. But no, it's all working fine now, and I will go and get something to eat for breakfast, and then I will be on my way after that to the next charging stop. So let's just have a look at the efficiency of that journey. So yeah, it's 42 miles an hour average, because it was lots of B roads, small windy roads, quite a lot of regen. As you can see, 2.9 kilowatts of regen, so that really helps to give a reasonable efficiency of 2.8, considering it's quite cold this morning. I say cold, it's about 15 degrees. But anyway, that's it. At least I'm charging. It was a bit of a crap start, if I'm honest, and I know now for the future, just go straight to the bonnet and release the cable. Remember that. Anyway, that's it. I will speak to you soon at the next stop. Right, I have arrived at my next destination, Instavolt Warwick McDonald's, I think it is. But these are the ones that have got the 200 amp cables, so the maximum you get is around 80 kilowatts, which I was getting at the beginning. It's starting to drop off now. I'm a bit annoyed myself actually on that last charging experience, because I forgot all about that emergency release on the I-PACE, and well, you know, my mistakes are for you to learn from. So I've saved you a bit of time. You've got an I-PACE and that ever happens to you. It's just never happened. I think it happened once really early on. I got a cable stuck, and that was released over the phone. So I thought it was just going to be the same thing again, but it ended up not being the case. And I'm surprised Jaguar didn't tell me. I mean, they should know, shouldn't they? I mean, they should know that. That's quite a simple one. They should have told me. Anyway, it got sorted in the end, and now I'm charging, and it did actually fail first time on this one. I thought it's going to be one of those days, but actually it started the second attempt, so that was fine. Don't know why it failed first time. Might have been just that I hadn't put the cable in quite correctly, who knows. But it's working now absolutely fine, and I'm going to charge up to 70% here. Something I forgot to say to you earlier is that, you know, and I generally do this when I'm planning long journeys, is I use an app called a Better Route Planner. If you haven't heard of it, definitely get it, download it, have a look at it, because it's quite a sophisticated app, and it gives you the best charging route, and it tells you where to charge. You have to put all the right information in there as well, but if you do that right, you get a really good route plan, and it tells you how long to charge at each destination as well. And I certainly use it to give me an overall plan for the route, but then sometimes I just change some of the recommended stops just because I want to stop at a particular one. But this time I thought, well, I'm just going to follow the route it gives me. I've kind of messed that up a little bit because it said to charge at 48% to my first stop, and I charged a bit more than that because I went off to get a coffee after messing around and having all those problems. I went off and had a coffee came out and it was 63%, so I've charged a bit more than I needed to. So anyway, I did stop at this charger as it suggested. It says to charge here to 70%, and then I'll go on to, which is kind of my normal really, go to Crow Orchard, and then just outside Wigan, and then go to Gretna as normal. So I'm sticking to that plan, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, the Better Route Planner, it's a good way of planning a long route. You can actually get it on Apple CarPlay as well if you pay for the subscription for the year. Let's have a look at the efficiency, shall we, of that last journey. And the energy efficiency was 2.8 miles per kilowatt hour. So exactly the same as the first part of the journey, and that equates to around 235 miles range on a full battery. So not bad. It's say the weather's again not very good. It's meant to be summer, but it's not really behaving like summer. So yeah, not too bad. Most of that's motorway as well, and we'll see what this next leg does, because it is starting to warm up now and my battery's warmed up, so it might be a little bit better. So that's it. I'll shut up now and I will get on the road very soon. Make sure I leave at 70% as I've been told. Speak to you soon. Right, I'm at MFG Crow Orchard. I've already plugged in, I'm charging. I actually haven't got very long to go because I've been in, got something to eat, and then by the time I've come out, I'm nearly at 63%, which is what I plan to charge to. I'm following that A Better Route Planner plan, so I'm very nearly at that now. So that was a good journey. Let's have a quick look at the stats. So I'll go to the app, and as you can see, 2 hours 8 minutes for that journey, and hit the 3 miles per kilowatt hour, so a lot more efficient there. And that shows you again the weather. There was a bit of rain, but it's definitely warming up. It must be around 18 degrees now. I can't see at the temperature at the moment. So lots of regen, 3.5 kilowatt hours. There was a little bit of slow traffic in that journey, but yeah, much more efficient journey that time, and that's good. And I'm charging really good speeds again on these 150 kilowatt charges here. I was getting up to 100. It's now dropping off a bit, but I've just reached that 63%, so I better get a move on, and I'll see you at Gretna. Speak soon. Right, as you can see, I'm not at Gretna because I had a little bit of a problem with the audio. So I had to re-record this, but let me tell you about what happened when I got there. Bearing in mind I arrived at lunchtime again, so very, very busy, quite a warm day, so a lot of people around. But I did manage to get a charge straight away. I did have a look at the Ionity chargers. They were all taken up with a couple waiting. So I went on to the Apple Green 180 kilowatt dual chargers, and there were a few spaces available. So I got straight into a space, started charging, and really got quite good speed straight away. I was getting around 98 kilowatts when I left to go in to get some refreshments, etc. When I came back out, somebody else had plugged into the other cable. So the dual chargers, so they split the power, so 180 kilowatt chargers. So I was obviously then getting less speed because the other car was plugged in, but still I'd got quite a bit of energy put in, and I didn't have to wait too long before I had enough for the remaining part of my journey, which was just over 100 miles to go. So when I had enough, I then got off onto my journey. But let's have a look at the efficiency for that part of the journey. So that leg of the journey, I got 2.8 miles per kilowatt hour. So that's pretty efficient again, and you know, later on in the journey, warm weather, battery warmed up, I would expect that. Mainly motorway driving though would have had some impact, and not many hold-ups on that journey, on that part of the journey, so that makes sense to be around that. But 2.8 equates to around 237 miles on a full charge. And let's have a look then at the very last leg after that when I left. So for the final part of the journey, it was 2.9 miles per kilowatt hour. So it was similar really overall. It was just that the last part of that journey was probably the first time in the whole of the round trip that I had a big hold up. There was some really slow traffic with about 20 miles to go around Glasgow. So that was a bit frustrating after that long trip. But these things happen, and that slowed me up, which meant actually it proves efficiency because I'm doing very, very low speeds. And just a summary of that second part of the journey then. Well, you learn from my mistakes is what I can say on the first charge I had when I had that problem with the cable getting stuck, and I managed to release it with the emergency release. So you learn on these journeys all the time, the long journeys. And I'm glad now I know where that emergency release is. I'll know for next time. Could save me half an hour because I lost half an hour at the start of that journey, and that meant it took me 10.5 hours in total when it could have taken 10, which I had planned for, so that added quite a bit of time. On that journey I just followed the route recommended in a better route planner, and that seemed to work really well. So I normally do use it to plan my journeys, but often make slight changes to it. But it's certainly worth checking out. So if we take an average of the journey down and then the journey up, just a basic average miles per kilowatt hour, then journey down was around 2.8 miles per kilowatt hour. So that equates to around 237 miles on a full charge. And then the journey back up, it was more like 2.9 miles per kilowatt hour. So that equates to around 246 miles on a full charge. And if I reflect on the whole 1,000 mile round trip, what about charging? Well, first of all, I did 8 charging sessions and I got onto a charger every time. You see the headlines, don't you, in the papers, as soon as there's a queue somewhere, they can't wait to jump in it and say, oh, the infrastructure is not good enough, there's not enough chargers out there. Well, I've just done a 1,000 mile round trip and didn't have a problem getting a charger. And I even arrived at times at some very busy periods, lunch times, but still managed to get a charge, because there's more and more charges going down all the time. Now, I'm sure that won't make the headlines, but there'll be a point in the paper, as I'm sure in the summer coming up, the summer holidays in England, where there'll be some queues at busy times, and they will jump on that and say that the infrastructure is not there. Well, you know, that shows you that it can be a good experience driving from Scotland all the way down to England and back again. I was able to get a charge every time. Of course, there was some there were some issues there, and there still are these little issues here and there, but they're usually easy to overcome. The other thing was that I got really fast charging on every charger. So that's great. It does help to improve the whole experience of the journey. And bear in mind, I've got a just over 3-year-old Jaguar I-PACE now, and still getting pretty fast speeds, and also the efficiency hasn't changed much over time. So that's it. I hope that was useful as always, and thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you soon.